although a lot of my educational interests now are involving the higher education world, the bit of the system that I kind of hold dearest to my heart is FE, further education. And the reason why, of course, is because I was involved so much in the widening participation agenda of Labour in government, and in all through the 90s, because I headed up a little working party to look at how the system was faring under its new financial arrangements. And what I loved about the system was that there were so many great people working in it, really doing terrific things. It gave opportunities to probably the most disadvantaged in our society, and often to people who were coming later to education. I loved the fact that it involved second chances, that people who'd missed out the first time round, or who felt that education wasn't for them, who felt that their confidence had been knocked by school, and suddenly they found that they took the leap and they found their way back into the system, and often it changed their lives. And for me, it was education that changed my life, and it changed the lives of my sisters, and it changed the life of most of my relatives. So it's why I think that you actually, if you're talking about social justice, you have to talk about education. And is it reaching everybody? And how fair is it? Or is it still the people who kind of, one would expect to benefit from it, who are benefiting from it? And it alarms me that, yes, we're seeing many more people going to university, but we're not sort of capitalising on the success of some of our sixth form colleges, which reach into real pockets of disadvantage where schooling is more fragmented, and yet we don't spend per capita the same in sixth form colleges as we do in other schools that go all the way up to sixth form. We're actually diminishing the number of sixth form colleges, although they're often the places where our most disadvantaged young get their chance and go on to higher education. And I also feel that the further education world is the world of adult learning. It's the place where lifelong learning took place. We don't hear people talking about lifelong learning anymore. And yet it's the area where people often make their first stumbling steps in adult education, where they actually try something out, get a bit of confidence, and then think, maybe I will start learning about how to use a computer. Maybe I will start getting my literacy skills up to speed. And you just see such incredible shifts in people's belief about themselves. And we're losing out by not spending money on this and investing in it. But there's a whole lot of stuff that's been going on. And I think that, this current government has been really neglectful of the power of education to change lives. And for all its talk about, wanting to make, through free schools and autonomy, a different kind of situation for people, it has greatly neglected the ways in which education changes the lives of people at different and other stages of their lives. Look at the concern we've got now about ageing populations, and yet remaining active and remaining intellectually alive shouldn't just be for the benefit of those who've had the advantage of education themselves already. It should be there for everybody. And yet the opportunities for lifelong learning are not available. For many, many people, it's not available unless at cost, and people can't afford to go there and do it. And the further education world that did this so successfully, and adult education colleges, are actually disappearing off our maps. And so there are a number of things that I would like to see happening. I'd like to see greater parity between FE and higher education. I'd like to see students who go back into education having the same chance of getting loans or grants or bursaries in order to do that. I want to see employers actually, doing a bit of the heavy lifting too, and creating opportunities for learning for people. And I'm really concerned about what's happened to the youth services. I mean, one of the problems about this is that it's not in the education department. It's been hived off somewhere else, and in fact it's become bereft of money, and we're really not seeing our most needy young being given the kind of advice and support that they need, and it seems to me that we have to be championing that again. So whole areas that we should be thinking about, and we tend to get the agenda tends to be concentrating all the time on schools, and that's important, and on the universities. And I want us to just remember that there's a third party here, and that third party has always been at the bottom of the list, and now has to have its little moment in the sun. And we should be thinking about how we spend our money on further education, adult learning, adult opportunities, on support and training for our young, our 16 to 19-year-olds, sixth form colleges being better supported, and I would like to see lifelong learning coming back on to our discussions.